Okay, we're back again and I'm going to talk you through the second day of my time in Tampere for the Euro Under-20 Championships. So how did Daniel do in his qualification round and what did I do with Bora in terms of her preparation for her qualifying round, which is in 2 days' time at the time of making this video on the Saturday. So I said I was going to talk about Daniel's preparations and his qualification round. Well, we did a very light session the day before, running up to about 90%, nothing intense. Then for the final, we had a strategy, and I was going to talk you through what that was. Now, on the day, they had a crosswind and relatively cool conditions. The standard was set at 7 meters 80, so that put pressure on a lot of the field. Now, I did say in my previous vlog that I thought that 7 meters 80 was too high. And indeed, the standards across all the events out here in Finland are very high. So I wonder whether European athletics are trying to do something in particular, maybe raise the standard of the events by putting such a high standard in place. But an advice to fellow coaches and athletes, I've found that at age group championships in particular, the athletes don't achieve the qualification standard in the horizontal jumps of right, so that set at 780, well, only one person jumped 7 meters 80, Peter Mendelschmidt of the Czech Republic. So, Daniel's strategy. Well, we always go back a shoe on the first attempt. This one he tries to always get in, and then on the second one goes back a further shoe and then goes faster into the board. Well, unfortunately this time he took off before the board with a 696 effort, and so obviously we needed to jump further in round 2. A lot of the jumpers coincidentally took off before the board on their first attempts, so potentially the wind conditions had changed between doing the run-ups and then their first effort. In the second round, Daniel got onto the board, but he had to make an adjustment on the third step out in order to get close enough. So this meant that his takeoff, and in particular his penultimate step, wasn't as effective as it could have been. However, he went out to 7 meters 39, which placed him in the top 5 at that point in the competition, and indeed he remained in 5th place till the end. In the third round, we were debating whether or not he had to actually jump, because by then we knew that he was going to get into the top 12, but he did. Unfortunately, there was a 100-meter race going on at the same time and he had to stop, or they held him up before he could actually take his attempt, and that put him off a little bit, and he was quite tight in his running into the board and took off miles behind the board and jumped 670, I'd say. Not great, but from takeoff to landing it would have been well over 7 meters. However, what was great was the fact that he qualified for the final. So my advice, have a strategy, try and stick to it, but obviously if circumstances dictate otherwise, then you need to change. But try to control as much as you can and make sure that the athlete is confident in what they're going to do and they know what they're going to do. It makes everything a lot more simpler. A couple of things for them to focus on as well. So for Daniel, it's the penultimate step, and I'll say a little bit more about that in just a second, and also the strategy of going quicker on the second jump. Now he can do that because it's not going from 80% to 100%, it's just a couple of percentage points, and as I've said, his accuracy is usually very good. Okay, I mentioned the penultimate step. Well, what makes the second jump and subsequent jumps in the competition normally quicker for Daniel is the fact that he performs his penultimate step slightly differently, in that he will not position flat-footed when he's going faster, this is, but position on a 4-foot position, strike on the penultimate, and that shifts him much more quickly into the takeoff. So that's invariably when the longer jump comes, the jump beyond 7 meters 40. So that's something that I look out for, that the penultimate step is done much more quickly, 4-foot contact, quicker takeoff, longer distance. So next time you'll hear from me in terms of talking about Daniel, I'll be filling you in on how he went in the final. In terms of Bora, if you watched the first vlog in this series, you'll know that we did quite an in-depth session on the Wednesday when we were here, because she had 2 days where she could train before the competition and then a rest day on the Friday before the Saturday. So look back on the previous vlog to see what we did then. But we trained again and she did a very light session of basic drills, walking through the technical requirements of the long jump hitch kick, taking the arm over the top, working on the holding position, pushing the foreleg out of the takeoff and then sweeping back. Just sowing the seeds of what she's going to have to do when she's actually jumping. Then we did a few penultimate step drills and some cycling drills and simulated the run-up as well in terms of working the first and second stage, and then the complete run-up. For me, I was able to get close enough to coach Daniel in the event, of course, from the side. Having to buy a ticket enabled me to get access to the stands, and to be honest, the official team coaches from the various nations were in no different or better positions than I was. For the final, the competition is going to be held on the home straight as far as we are aware of, so hopefully I'll be able to get close enough to be able to shout instructions to Daniel. I wasn't able to gain access to the warm-up area, which is fair enough because you do need to have your pass, but luckily enough, as you can see from the videos, I was able to be close enough to see what was happening, and this also saved us going to one of the warm-up tracks where I may or may not have been able to get access to watch Bora's second training session whilst she was out here. Okay, I'll conclude the video now. If you've got any questions about how to prepare for major championships and what you do when you're actually at a major championships, then do leave a comment in the section below, and I'll update you on how Daniel did in the final in another video and how Bora does in her qualification.